Good morning. We start with Lama Tsongkhapa Guru Yoga. From the heart of the Savior of 100 deities of Tushita, on a peak of cloud resembling a clam of extremely white fresh curd, King of Dhamma, omniscient Losandrapa, please come here together with your sons. In the sky before me on a lion throne, lotus and moon, my perfect pure Guru smiles with delight. Supreme field of merit for my mind of faith, please abide for 100 yawns to spread the teachings. Your holy mind has the intelligence that understands the full extent of objects to be known. Your holy speech with its excellent explanations is an ear ornament for those of good fortune. Your holy body is radiantly beautiful with glory renowned. To you who are meaningful to see, hear, and remember, I prostrate. Pleasing drinking water, various flowers, fragrant incenses, lice, scented waters, and so forth. Oceans of cloud-like offerings, both actually arranged and mentally emanated, I offer to you the supreme field of merit. Whatever non-virtue of body, speech, and mind, especially those opposite to the three vows that I have collected from beginningless time, I confess each and every one with fervent regret from my heart. You strove for much learning and practice in this degenerate age, and made your freedoms and richnesses meaningful by abandoning the eight worldly concerns. Saviour, we sincerely rejoice in your extensive deeds. Perfect pure holy Gurus from the billowing clouds of wisdom and compassion in the sky of the Dharmakaya, please let fall a rain of profound and extensive Dharma upon the receptacle of those to be subdued, exactly as they need. May whatever virtue I have collected benefit the teachings and all transmigratory beings, and in particular may it cause the essence of perfect pure Losandrapa's teachings to shine forever. Sajibaki Trujing Medok Tramri Rabling Nidegyempadi Sangeshindu Migdeulwa Idrokunamdak Shinlachuparsho. By the merits of having offered this mandala to Lama Tsongkhapa and his two sons, may I, my family members, and all sentient beings be able to meet, practice, and actualize the teachings of the victorious one Losandrapa, who had the morality of an eminently pure way of life, was courageous in the extensive conduct of the sons of the victorious ones, and accomplished the yoga of the two stages of supreme bliss and emptiness. Idam Guru Ratna Mandalakam Niryatayami. By the force of having fervently requested in this way, hollow beams of white light are emitted from the hearts of the perfect pure Father and Sons, and combining into one enter my crown. White nectar, the color of milk, flows from the opening of the tube of white light, cleansing all my sicknesses, spirit harms, negative karmas, obscurations, and their imprints without exception. My body becomes as pure and clear as crystal. Now we recite 5-line Miksema 3 times. Mikmet sewe terchen chen rezik drimek yempe wampo jampe liang dupo malu jonze sangwe dak ganchen gebe zungen songkapa losan drape shabla solwade Mikmet sewe terchen chen rezik Dreamek yempe wampo jampe liang Dupong malu jonze sanwe dak Ganchen gepet sungen songkapa Losan drape shabla solwade Mikmet sewe terchen chen rezik Dreamek yempe wampo jampe liang Dupo malu jonze sanwe dak ganchen kepet sungen songkapa losan drape shabla solwade.
Sanji Chedang Tsojin Chonum La Chancho Pardu Dani Kyapsun Chi Dagi Chushi Gyeband Dag Rolan Beje Sanjin Drupara Sho Sanji Chedang Tsojin Chonum La Chancho Pardu Dani Kyapsun Chi Dagi Chushi Gyeband Dagi Rolan Beje Sanjin Drupara Sho Sanji Chedang Tsojin Chonum La Chancho Pardu Dani Kyapsun Chi Dagi Chushe Jebanda Dagi Rolambe Sanjin Drupara Sho Kangi Tuzini Zone Tawa Tamche Pambi Chere Tambi Chun Denze Kwadong Tela Changze Lo Shishin Kyongan Javi Lo Kesan Nawe Genju Lekshi Tabi Peche Lami Zebe Tonde Tembe Donden La Changze Namo Laye Kedan Lo Dono Jeke Tribong Dana Mi Kedan Lo Dono Kunji Danon Chizomba Tamche Kedan Dagi Chuden Do Good morning, everyone. Welcome back. Shabadele.
Shobandel.
Tanganzo sape pasangin zidandawati ruruchie de dawchik lala chingorson asra. Tanganzo yanjang ani zapasan chakchin lachik mi manyo la madewe nganzo ruruchie chik tang gotsu wanza ani tangyun nanshin rayar asra. An zozo ta keranso go samsur kang yobatela ani Tangarang tandabado jahanshawi ti thawni chik pa len teya dawajda ti ki ani samsu ti chik pen thawya chik yung sikri da samchin da anga zudu sawdi go ras.
So we are now gathering for the Friday teachings after a long time, and now we'll continue to hold the Friday sessions regardless of the number of participants. And as you all know that for this session, there will be discussions. So whatever doubts or questions you have, I'll try my best to provide answers to the best of my ability based on what I have studied.
Chewa
So if you have any questions, any doubts, you can ask.
Hello, Geshe. Thank you. Um, my question is about the 49 days in the Bardo state, in the intermediate state. Is this amount of time relative? Mm. Sometimes, yeah, I wonder about the time of this. Is it relative to the realm that one is experiencing this Bardo state? Yes, if you could expand on this. Thank you, Geshe. Thank you, Tuptunla.
chibade dirishigina, yindi nga tsu ta meji chongba isu na pardo la ta jigiyo ra. Tani yongda ki shisu chi la pardo la ta nga tsu sha shiv shigu digiri se shisu chi dos ra. Ani sha shiv shigu digiri la di yang chik kam mindawa la tu ni mindawa yorebe. Yang na tsangma shiv shigu ngeba rebe. Ani tiko la chik ngoto chi nanglo chis.
Yes.
Lagi.
Yeah.
Could you please talk a little bit about how to not take things personal? Like when someone's maybe making a comment or being disrespectful in someone's mind, how to not take that personally and get upset about that. Does that make sense? Thank you.
다 tsamri nganzu mi shenpa chigi ta chik junju cheberi rawa da tsingi mewa da dinde yungu da dinde yungu kabla soso ki nitsu di chik ger tola ma kiye chora ki kala na di nga la lare sami samdo di matangwa chiye chora di junju di soso semla ma shaba rawa dinde chiye ki tablam kari yoresi.
Shedu, you say you have questions? You have questions? No, okay. Ada? Yeah, it's okay. Ngi lench gyao chos, right? Ngi lench gyao.
I shall provide an answer.
Tanda pardo shak shibju sengi di chidan pardo ki tsetse di she goras. Ra pardo ki tsetse di. Pena nganzu mi tsetse raw di chidan gichani ta lo gyak tsetse raw jiran dasta ra. Lo gyak tsetse. Yang kashi lo gyak lak tindi dengi. Kashi yang chidan mi la kiewa ina yang. Ani chik donra kashi, dawa kashi, ani lo kashi chongzhongi tindi yungo ras ra. Ina yang chi mi tsetse di ani lo gyak tsetse sungo ra. Tida chikpa rawa jires ra. Pardo tsetse di lo kasa shabu shibchi shegu res. Ima ina yang karsa chik norsta. Pardo ki tsetse di donra chik res la ra. Pardo tsetse di donra chik res. Donra chik lak pardo di ani tsawa nini da yangi kiwa jiho gyago res. Tā ngānsu dīni 단지도 배 노르스 배 샤선들이라 아니 당한수 디니 체표니 아니 바르돌라 끼니 아니 돈자 찌그 참니 양자 바르도 끼와 디 지워자고 그랬어. 이한 바르돌라 끼시 와지랬어. 아니 바르돌라 가지 gyum바이나 살 들락 아니 바르돌라 gyungu 마레스. 되니 아니 끼와 셴바질이야 끼시질 끼와 렌로 그랬어. 디 아니 가서 저당 도단식 그랬어. 텐자 샤집시 제구세야디 바르돌라 카주스 네바이나야 샤집시 생아 샤집시 세굴레 사 미니비 케제지레 마도 네버도 샤집시 세구 데고 케제티 세고 사마레스
Yes. So when we say that the Bardo beings, this lifespan of the Bardo being is 49 days. When a person passes away, he or she born into the Bardo state, um, and the approximate lifespan of Bardo being is first 7 days. So after 7 days, you again reborn again into another part of being, or you might take a new rebirth. If you could not reborn in other life forms, you will be again reborn into Pardo beings. So that process will repeat for 7 times. So the longest time is, of course, 7 weeks, which is 49 days. So within these 49 days, you will be definitely take reborn in some other life forms. So a maximum kind of time that you will reborn as a Pardo being is 7 times or 7 weeks, which does not mean that you have necessarily have to be born or live as a Pardo being for that amount of time.
Where you get this question in Nepal? One Nepal이든 가진 쓸래라. 파니 대니단들 지원님바 디게 다 탑시 약시 아니 자부 나라로 차를 넣어야 돼 인사라서라 미요 말아서라 소수직보 검제 되게 아니 숨부승이요 말에 카땅이요 말에 다치 약수디 차를 넣어야 돼 인사레스.
Yes. So now, with regard to the second question about how not to take things personally, the best and most effective means is to seek absolute solitude. So when you seek absolute solitude, you don't have to deal with other people. Then you are absolutely free from prone from people's criticism, and then there is no need to take anything personally.
Not true. That's true, huh? Yeah. 아니 다딩 안수 투고 말았다. 배 가보러 왔어. 아니 디 마투 디 아니 안수 미치 zonala 네고디 잠발라. 아니 딱거 야가 시행이 두어 시행이 다 자세자도 연구로 왔어. 다 연구로 왔다. 연구도 하다라. 학돈도 지 아니 내가 뭐 제바 있나? 아니 뒤쪽이더니 미 아니 카당이 마 연구도 왔어라. 내가 배는 있는 냠뇽요라다. 라 만진데 칙 대용 진데 칙 칼라 찌그리 야도 칼라선 대대바이나 게시라게 찍찍도 니 찍도 진dig도 지금도 세 깨져디 치 용고 말았다라. 디 용고 말하다. 다디 마지디 안 진데 칙 진데 마치 베칼이야 칙 당원이 칙 아니 칙 초조의 차츠보다 칙 약부치 라 당아 그 줌바리 그 땡키워스키요 말다가 롱보 메주 미러 티치디게 아니 Nekab degri, nima chigla, jacha jani jatamba tini, ani nga tendu de tuya kora yo marawastara. Losok chani lo yale tsari, ani netan kariki chani na ya nga, ani karsa, da nganzu ke tosi na permanent roji marawastara. Imba ina nga dini tenruwi nimo tela, ani chik, kundi debi rinla ya, samba namda ki legaji chesha samsamjik, ngepar to sogo grastara. Sogo di samni, ani ngegi zira chiwa chi mayinba, chezo di china parson kanji toni ya sanglo tangchi, mila ya begu shu chi, ani susu nyamdo dro chi, tu chiwa di, gyunju chingi legi dosti. Di gyunju chingi legi yaba tangpo kora na haku yes. Ku gyunju chingi legi ria samni dro shabayna, gyunju kazu chena ya, nyo shaya dang, magiba chaja, zawani ni mandos. Tanga chik gyunju cheyunguri samni chik ngamra rawada chik toksun rawa chen dede bayna gyun tes jo bayna sosu magiwa chaya ki ani nyanga rawada chen doas rawa. Tingi ki ta karso ta nyongso rawa chi yinsi.
Yes. Um, so the most effective way is, as mentioned earlier, to seek complete solitude, but that is not feasible for many of us. We have to live in a society, and we have to deal with others. Um, so in the society, when we have to deal with others, of course, sometimes people say good things about you, sometimes people might say bad things about you, and then it's very likely that you might receive lots of criticism for whatever you are doing, and so on and so forth. For instance, in my own case, if I were to simply come to lead the classes and then go back to my room and only focus on the classes, that's absolutely okay. But for the betterment of the this institute, I also tend to kind of come out of my comfort zone and try to dedicate and to work on many other things for the improvement and for the betterment of this institute. Um, and in my own case, I'm like a temporary guest for this institute. I won't be here permanently, but my intention is to serve this institute to the best of my ability, and to when I leave this center, there should be some tangible result and improvements. So that's my, kind of pure motivation. So even with the pure motivation, when I come out to work, I know that some might criticize me, some might say, not very nice things about me. But when you are prepared for such things, when you know that you are bound to receive some criticism, you're bound to hear some unwelcoming comments and remarks. So when you are prepared for such comments, then you don't feel overwhelmed, and you don't feel kind of influenced by such negative comments, because you are already prepared for that. It won't hurt you when you are prepared for it, when you know that you are bound to, people are bound to say such things. Um, so, therefore, from my own personal experience, um, when you personally kind of accept that people might say many different things, then you don't feel personally influenced or affected by such negative remarks or comments.
Tenta chik di gyasi chibu shiwa ligi labja di ta tso re shi shaki yore sirwa. Ani re la jida namba sanji bigi ta chik ani karsa ta drup sila na dhigo jira ta rwa tindi chigi ta shi shani samdang bayi na nganzu missing di teni nguyu nitsu kanyin ba di ani tangdo len tukba tang nguyu nitsu mayin ba di kari chongba yana ya di nami tang tuyagi nganzu la ya nibad gugdo asra sosu la ya nibad namba sanji bigi chu tatubdu si jang yongdi bigi shiba tsam mayin ba sosu laklen tar yongdi teni nguyu nitsu kang chongba di tangdo len tukba tang nguyu nitsu mayin bigi chik nitsul zuma kanyin ba di kari chongba yana nami tang tuyagi karso da logo da masun di kigi yosares ta di yobayna teni yaga lananda duga lananda sosu la yan gyuwa kanya tang ma tuyachi ta di yongo res ra ta di tem shude da yak shude o di chago res ra
And another practical thing that we could all follow is what Shantideva stated in his text.
ketan gas mendo
Check 1,
ya
2, 3.
talis ya
Okay. So Shantideva says that if you could think and um, behave in accordance with the reality, and if you have the courage to accept the reality, and if you have also the courage to ignore what is not true and accept what is true, if your life is based on this principle, then nothing will personally kind of negatively impact you or rather influenced you when you are very much grounded on truth and have the courage to ignore what is not true, then other false or negative comments can't really influence and impact you.
re dani nganzu di tugo mardara susu gi kyen yoba di miji gi susu kyen yoba di miji gi kyen de lin yong bai na kontro sat warda nganzu kontro sat sho warda ra di khare se na ani susu kyen de susu ngolen chi ma tu be gi ani gyunzen ji chaga da sara susu kyen de susu ngolen chi tungin ji bai na kyen de lin on di dingi kyen ya samsung lo di ki on di 아니 콘트사 거에다 지 샘심 거야게 내당 땐데여서 말했더라. 다음 우유 내츠 많이 바지 시에 온바이나. 디 아니 소수께 말했디. 파쇼메 라바자마레 마도 소소를 견드 메바인자 델라야 아니 지 소소 콘트사 거에다. 아니 지 샘심 거야. 자원님 다 이어 말어. 딘디지기 아니 가서 다지 로또 소리지 끼투가 있나? 되니 가와 되나야 미 가르면 가를 라바네야 내가 간 두고여서 말했어.
Oops. Then sometimes people might say, people might criticize about you. People might say bad things about you. If what the other person is saying is true, then we should have the courage to at least accept that whatever they are saying is true. Then when you accept that this is true, again, you don't feel kind of discouraged, or you don't feel overwhelmed by that criticism because you accept that what they are saying is true. And then on the other way, if somebody is saying things which is not true about you, then there is no reason to feel bad about that because they're simply saying it, but it does not really reflect your own self, right? That's not true. That's not based on truth. So therefore, it doesn't have to negatively impact you.
그래서 딘디기 저지 로드 용약의 체도 로드 용약의 체도 있는다. 딘디 로드 용약의 시도디 아니 시 아니 니룩 더 남산지 위치가 타니 제바이나 아니 지담바니기 아니 남샤디 신고야디 장고야디 다 하장 계신 부차가 열어와서 지담바니기 남샤 신바이나 텔레템비기 아니 뎀바시기 남샤디 아니 텔레템비 아니 지 냠랭 그런 바다 람탐시니기 아니 냠랭 그런 바 테닌 제복군이 있어야 됐다 아니 남바 산지비 다지 아니 추고 다 점시 ngo마디 텐디진 차이도 왔어라.
So from Buddhist point of view, the courage to face such things really comes from knowing and realizing the reality or the truth. So from Buddhist language, it is known as the true truth. So if you understand the concept of true truth perfectly, then it will somehow change our perspective about many things. And then based on the realization of this true truth, we will further deepen our understanding about the concept of Four Noble Truth. And by implementing Four Noble Truth in our life, we will be able to practice what is known as the practice of method and wisdom. And by practicing the method and wisdom, then we will ultimately actualize the resultant state. So this is from Buddhist point of view about how knowing the truth can in fact positively influence our life.
단다 조디 세므렌도 왔어라. 조디 간주 다지 아니 대둑 참을로가 내단디 셈그톤이 용해지렌도 왔어라. 대바도 동가슬나 다드나 비기 셈그 소와치그렌도 왔어라. 딘디기 아니 지 셈그 소 대둑 온도 만들어와치 아니 지 셈드 템포 용해라야 셈 때사기 율 템부지 니고도 왔더라. 율 템부지 율 마뎀바질라야 율 하장 그 가서 따지 아니 귤 초초 아니 차키니 마님게 들어야 아니 셈 때바이나 아니 셈디 축조여서레스 다율 템부질라야 셈 때 두바이나 아니 셈도 축여 말아 딘자 율 때사 그 율디 아니 니야라 아니 지 아니 뎀바니게 네솔티 지 아니 율 네루 가임바디 아니 ngo드치에데 디렌도서로 율피기 템포 징니바나 델라 셈때 온디 아니 가두이나 셈디피 아니 차냐무치네 데토야지 아니 디토니 가서 다지 세다마스는 자온디 아니 세딱다치 고 우에 네순 통와인자 우에 네수 디 실라샤니 아니 베네 세다마스는 가리 자와이나 아니 세딱다 자토야지 우에 네수다 문팀비 율질야 셈때니 아니 세자원디 아니 세도 축줘야지 딘자 착당 뉴문글로세디 세 축juk 아니 세소를 차다 당한서 빼자원 세 축juk 세소를 아니 참년지 잔주고 셈세디 세 만추바 딱딱 세자 통인게 아니 가서 다 세지소를 차고라서
And then when we talk about happiness or sadness or many of other experiences, most of them are primarily states of mind. Happiness is a state of mind. Feeling bad about something is also a state of mind. And Therefore, the state of mind is so powerful and it's really influence our entire being. And in order to experience happiness, we should have a very stable and reliable mind. And in order to have that reliable and stable mind, our mind is often dependent on its object that the mind perceives. So if the object that the mind engages with is reliable and stable, our mind will automatically will become stable and reliable, which leads to the kind of happiness and stability and peace. So usually based on the object of the mind, we form kind of assumption, judgment, and make decisions based on that. If the object is unreliable, we tend to make unreliable judgment, unreliable assumptions and decisions, which lead to sadness and so forth. Therefore, it's really important to rely on a kind of stable object and reliable object, which makes our mind more calm and stable. For instance, the cultivation of positive state of mind, such as love and compassion and so on and so forth, they are based on reliable object, and these cultivation of such minds will lead to happiness. On the other hand, negative state of mind, such as anger, hatred, and so on and so forth, they are unreliable. And cultivating such mind, harboring such ill thoughts, will ultimately lead to sadness. Therefore, it's really crucial to cultivate such positive states of mind, which is based on the truth and a reliable object.
데리다 nganzu namgyu those te on di pena chi ani decha dang sevi lo ni de no ro eso ra chik ra chi shong lu la ya jangba che ma che ni do sam tang di ani tsewa dan do cha ni nor de chi ma do di yi chi tu ya chi pe shi yo ma ra sa ra tang uni chi pe ani ribi shong lu la ya jang ni teni samdangdi ane decha dang tsewa sayadini bet loga yinbachik ro ane decha di tanji shuwa nangshin bet di pigi yulaya dadang di tseli gini tade yochik ane di kolong diyan chik ane chik retok chik yongde yachik ane tsewa sayadi tinti mahimba chanden chik toni chanden chik toni pe ane yula tangin lochik 다 딩이 베드 로가렌다서로 운니 기체비 로세디 끼온디 안주 샘디 시디 소고라다 운니 기체비 로디 카둘레나 미디 아니 시신 트로차고레스 로 착비 로디 데착 로디 카주스레바나 아니 안주 샘 투로다 마데와 용고다서로 디기 줌딜라이나 아니 자원이니 기부메교치 용고요레스 그 갑둘레야지 데빗 남바지 템바이네야 아니 야부 제주 제바나 샘디치 가르서다지 린자 메교치 꺄 데빗 남바지 야차 야다마 요사레스티
Yes. And then, moreover, we often fail to distinguish between true love and attachment. So the demarcation between these two is very ambiguous. Therefore, people often tend to mistake between true love and attachment. For instance, when we say attachment often tend to see its object, the qualities of object. It tends to exaggerate the qualities of its object, and attachment often is followed by some kind of expectation and some kind of fear. that comes with attachment. So first, attachment tend to exaggerate the quality of its object, meaning it tend to see what is more than the reality of the object of that attachment. And then it often comes with some form of expectation. So this often leads to disturbance in our mind because it is not based on the truth and it often comes with some expectation. So this will further lead to unsettling and disturbance in our mind. But on the other hand, true love is based on reality. It is based on truth. So when somebody cultivates true love, it makes that person more calm, more serene. There should be some kind of stability and calmness when that individual cultivates love. It should not be the other way around. But attachment often disturbs our mind. So there is that kind of distinction or demarcation between true love and attachment.
Sincerely, is it possible to bring a true love without or with 0% of attachment?
Could you please repeat one more time?
Is it possible to love someone with 0% of attachment?
알레오레 따단다 길랑아 세와다 되샤기 콜레 셰르와 코니 체바카리 아니 미치라 되샤 다 만디비토니 아니 또 세와 양타바지 제투 그러면서
Yes. Geshe.
100%.
100%? No,
We can
Sorry?
100%? No, 99.99. No.
100%.
대체 군주 보거든요 말아 제자로스
Geshe, 100%, not 99%. 100%.
How is possible? Because with true love, we want to, for example, happiness of the people with true love. But if this person is not happy, we desire for her the happiness. And this desire is not an attachment.
제가 피지딜라기 있어요 다 치다 먼저 다 전담기 세와 야 제일로키나 아니 치다 강사디 심 기부 다 들이 연구라 또 참을 간조 강사 심በ질 파 세와 양타바치 테바 있나야 디긴 리불라 소소 두기 용아들이 연구도 안 디갑슬라 디 양나 제일로 양타바 마차바레베 양나 딘데샤다 딘데바이나
Yantaba machawa ingire. Re karso dachi nganzu yogi ninji kiwi kabdula chitangi chi karso dachi ni sem kyo ato tindita yon chogo yorda asra. Ina ya di gi kyo yon chogo arda ina di gi onni gi ninji di kyo ondi nganzu la ya lotab chegi yoresta. Namba sanji vishon sina ani lotab shi ki chugo res. Inji ti tob ki ta kari na kuche do kari na che tuya ki lotab che yungo res.
So as we discussed earlier, true love often leads to happiness. But if you experience some kind of some kind of sadness, then probably our love is still stained by some form of attachment. Maybe our life is not in the purest form. For instance, if we compare this with the cultivation of compassion, at the outset of cultivating compassion, we might feel some form of discouragement for discouragement. Yep, but as we reinforce and strengthening our practice of compassion. And when you ultimately cultivate the genuine compassion, instead of feeling discouraged, the compassion will give us more courage to do everything for the object of your compassion.
Pena ngi tanda gyacha gyatangba yung chogre se di karso ta chik kongme longmen roji ta she na dhig marwa sara. Tiyan chik ani riglam chik toni. Ro nganzu gyunzen yang tagba chi samchin, gyunzen mambu chi samchin. Ani ta gyacha gyatangba ki chogre se di ani gyabchong gyunzen chi yor sara, gyunzen chi yor sara.
So I previously said that we can 100% we can love somebody without any form of attachment. So of course this is based on, I didn't randomly set it, but it is based on some kind of reasoning.
Gyabchong rigba chik la ya dagshin nyamji se dik. Dagshin nyamji dagdan she nyamba yinpi ki ani rigbi gyabchong de kene tini ani tsewa di ani gyacha gyatamba di gyetuya di dhru yores ra.
Yes.
Ani reti lada nyunyu la.
So there is a concept from the mind training tradition where there is a concept of exchange and equalizing self with others. So the ability to exchange and equalize self and others really comes from cultivation of true love.
Tanganzu nyamba resa di pena kerang da ngani nyamba resa la vay na chikchini kerang kontra sasik rasa kerang pomo lo shin chi nga mi porto gengo chi tanganzu nyamba resa la na ko khar la samsik ra imba na di la go mares semkham devan deva ta dunghar munde ba nyamba di devan deva ta dunghar munde bi choni samta na ta tsawa nini tele ya jitse tsawa nini yo mares ta gyacha gyani gyatamba devan deva ta dunghar munde ba chikpa chikyan re ma ta keba putsang yo marwas di chani da dagdan she nyamba imba di chani she go res.
So when we say that cultivation of equalizing and exchange self with others, when I say that we all are equal and same, then some might get offended. There is a possibility that how come we be same? Because, for instance, in this case, I'm an old man and you are young girl. How can we be same? You might feel that way, but that's not the intended meaning. What do we really mean by equalizing a self with the other is that we all are equal in wanting happiness and not wanting suffering. So that basic fundamental aspiration is shared by everyone. So therefore, we are equal in that respect.
That did da deva da dunghar munde ba nyamba imbi gyunzingi teni karsa ta he tsawa nini mebi ki chakpi ki he tsawa nini mebi ani tsawa gyetu ki gyunzin kantashin drogor se di geje yung chogor asara kera toba yung chogor asara.
Yes. And then you can still raise the question that how can still this be a valid reason to say that you can 100% love somebody without any stain of attachment?
Tenza ta di yung ya la ani tsewi lo di ngong sha go gores tsewa sengin ninji se tsewa ninji changpa ninji se di lo de ngunzen tu bayna teni dewa da dungar mun deba nyamba yimbi gyunzenji ani chakpa da mandibigi ani chamzi lo ki tu yoba di ten kowa jiraksa res.
Yes. So, to understand the possibility of cultivating true love without any stain of attachment, first we need to understand what do we mean by love, what do we mean by compassion.
간선은 잠재 세디 아니 잠바드 제와 세디 파 제온디 로 칸드질라디 동거 문데바지 동가다 타나 치마로 냠비 로딜라야 세비 로디 테레스 아니 데와다 테나 치마로 냠비 로딜라야 잠바세고레스 로 틴자 데바도 동거 문데바 치바 임바이나 아니 랑다 셴니가로 데바다 동거 문데바 치바 인자 니가 로라야 랑라야 동안 존나 민디블로 기와 나셴기 젠라 동안 존나 민디블로 기 촉바지 기 어바지 그래도 아스라 근데 가진 기에요 말세 저디 홍초고도 아스라.
So when we say the cultivation of love and cultivation of compassion, first it's important to understand the definition or the meaning of these words. For instance, the mind which wishes to see others being freed of suffering is called kind of love, and the mind which wishes to see others endowed with happiness is known as compassion. So, in this regard, we often want ourselves to be freed from suffering, and we ourselves want always to experience happiness. Just like you personally want this, that fundamental aspiration is shared by others as well. So if this fundamental reason is sufficient for you to cultivate love and compassion for oneself, how can this not be a sufficient reason to cultivate love and compassion for others?
다든도 랑라야 마강에 랑라야 네버지 딩기 가서 당한 직딩기 타닐라야 자워세그러다 자워디야 데바다 동안 문데바 랑다 찍바 임바티 Geshe gyata marwasra. Tinza pigi drawolaya dunga chona drawo di dunga da tana chimaru nyambi lodi sosola gang maga gyunsen kaya mambo kola ko dunga dugume wanza ko dunga da tar weba jigra wasra. Inza kola dunga da tana chimaru nyambi lodi ki weba jigra wasra. Nguyo nesu dun tumbachi. Pigi nguyo nelu dun tumbachi chaga wasra. Tinji nguyo nesu dun tumbi lodi rangi ki tugu mebayna 디 랑기 끼어레마도 심박한 차금만다스라 더 끼어고 쪼데 간사 소수 남주기 우여 네츠피기 아니 당도 렌퉁이기 남주디기 만당와 쌈레마도 젬바 긴생 칸야요 말와스.
So not only oneself and others want happiness and do not want suffering, but even those whom we dislike, including our enemy, they also want happiness and do not want suffering. The reason to cultivate love and compassion could be also applied to one's enemy as well, because they also share the fundamental aspiration of wanting happiness and not wanting suffering. So if you're not able to cultivate love for our enemies or for those whom we dislike, it's in fact not the problem of that enemy, but rather it's our own problem because we are not being able to accept the fact that they also share the same aspiration of wanting happiness and not wanting suffering. Since that is a sufficient reason to love oneself, it should also be a sufficient reason to love others, including our enemy. And if we are not able to apply that, it's our own kind of issue. We have to work on being able to accept the reality, how this is a sufficient reason to cultivate love and compassion.
Tadi lo di kie yoris tara, Geshe jatama kie yoris tara. Ini le lau remo da, le lau ta me tak chu res tara. Ani pena susu me zi nyam nyam tamani, ta le lau tsawa nini. Lo chuk ni choksom ni tawa che che ne. Wata bada jamba yisra, tanda lo ngab chu ngara bada, tanda ina da ngima li shuk tena shuk yaya shuk chir taan che ne. Jango ya ne dun chi tongu du ma do, ta yongsa mara sha kwasar sam ne su tsawa nini lo li kigma do sra. Chik ni shoki ngawa ina lang, kadzu lang tu na, kadzu ngawa lang tu ba ina, ya lang chin. Ani rikpa drim na, mulam gyab, ani chik pigi ge, ani kyor goya tu su, kyor samla kasu tu tu chigo rada, gyacha gyatama chigo yisra. Ima le lawu mandu, le lawu meba ina yang, kola ya, ani chentong ji legi doda. Tangondi tani, tan dele yaga jita, gyacha gyatama mandu sambigi, lo ji legi doda. Tiki kibu sogo doda, misi kibu sogo doda. Tenzi tesi jang tu baya na, gyachi yadam pe yakbu yore, susu misi nala, ten pengiris taro.
So, so the point is that it is, of course, always possible to cultivate this form of love and compassion. But having said that, it is definitely not easy to cultivate. For instance, in my own case, I've started studying about this from a very early age, and now I'm around in my 50s. I'm still kind of reading and studying about this positive thought and try to implement them. And still, it's it does not come kind of spontaneously. It still requires a lot of training and practice. So every day, I try to get up early in the morning, start my day with prayers and cultivating and so on and so forth. So even at this stage, I continue to see the need of studying and learning more and practice more. Therefore, with effort, we will be able to put this into practice. And the more you dedicate yourself in such practices, the more you see the worth of cultivating and putting effort to cultivate such positive thoughts. And when you see that, it ultimately brings joy in our life.
Ta pena ta di chola ya, pena ta ngandro wena ta namba sanji wiki chik ta dhugu chola ya, ta gawa shu yungu war ta, ani chik karso ta, ani sem nanglo la ya, ani zi chir roya ji ma do, timendo asara, kadzu zi chir roya di, ana chik zina di chakpa resi lap sikiro asara, ina ngay zina di chakpa raya ma dos. Chakpa kadzu skiba ti tsugi, ani shadan jenga doda. Chakpa kadzu shuk jeba ti tsugi, ani magawe lo kisa maa yungu dosara. Ta chakpa da mandi wiki gawe lo digi, ani ta gawe lo kisa di maa rogo doda. Ta ngi dindi samdang garsara. Piki gawa dan chakpa ni namba chikpa rogo yinba ina yang, ko gawa yinshi chakpa maa yinbi gyunzen di, dindi lo di kadzu skiba ina yang, ani gashok maa roya di, ani chakpa da mandi bi gyunzen re shaas. Kedzi chakpa dan dribi lo yinba ina, ani di kadzu su shukchin roya di zogi maga lo kisa maa roya shakadasra. Shedan kisa maa le yungdas.
So in this regard, I personally admire Buddhist philosophy. Um, and then you might argue that, well, your admiration is again uh, related with attachment to views and to philosophy. But the distinction is that if something is defiled by attachment, then it means that ultimately this will bring about hatred or a kind of disturbance in the mind. But admiration to Buddhist philosophy will not ensue that kind of thoughts. So if that thought does not bring about hatred and other negative states of mind, then it's safe to say that it's not defiled by attachment.
More questions?
Good morning, Geshe. I wonder if you could talk a little bit about the distinction between, as the Buddhists perceive this, between contentment versus dissatisfaction. I mean, we read a lot about this in the texts written by Buddhist teachers, and one of the things that seems to be a repetitive thing, in my reading at least, is that we live in a society that, if we compare it to society maybe 50 years ago, it appears that we are far better off. We have more things. We live in bigger houses. We eat great food. In most Western societies, we're free, etc., etc. So one would naturally assume that we should be more content than ever. Yet, in all of the psychological surveys that are conducted, the conclusion is that we are more dissatisfied than we have ever been. And I guess there's two aspects to this question, I suppose, for you, if I may, and that is, number one, how do we foster or create and maintain more consistent levels of appreciation and contentment? And number two, what antidotes can our mind develop in order to counter this, what is this seemingly predominant level of dissatisfaction with our lives?
Cosa?
No.
La page code.
Check 1,
Yeah,
2, 3.
code, yeah.
지금도 들으시겠다. 단다 낭배기 더수시자 지연도 전에 간주 촉시에로 촉시 촉시에 바탕 되는 건 지금 미치나로 수준 되바 막강비 직 소나 용해 줘라. 디기 직 이어왔으면도 간데스 차고여스 배차신나 간주다 미지게 단지 삼당바이나 아니 다 로주 톤데 세우라 녜마찌바이나 단다 간지찬이 간주를 튕긴 상황이어스라 사야기 전에 고야기 전에 간지찬이 또 튕긴 베트 야가 여스 이니야 아니 직 심주로 제비가블라 미 문치나 등산 튕기 야가 여상 등산 미드소 지금 대바 망아 칸데와다 직 든지 용공에서로 붙여라 이니야 심주 제비가블라 등산 미드소 녜말리 두그루 대바 마칸비 대바 마칸비 촌랑 등산 숙체와 연결해서 튕기 상도 조이나 대바 마칸비 되니 디가서 디망도 조도스 디치드산에다 디바 당부디 먼저 소소 강 여바텔라 직 총시 된당다 여바디 심바 로키에저라 디칸데스키토레스 아니바디 다 소소 여바이나 단도 딘더바 강베기 로키메토여저라 딜라 아니 냠보스나메도 디칸데스 된 거레스
That did it. That deal tabshi chig yoba dita nyumunga nyimbo tenderes. Dechata. 아니 zuda jik chokshi yongyagi chok mashi wadi ani chakbi wangi legwara dara chakbi wangi ta nganzu ani chakdan nimu di nganzu gyula ta jik tomo meba ni yoyo bada jik imbala ani dita nyamdo jik jitsuk jik lega kari cheba inayang pigi ani chakdan gibi gyula yang rosha wara da pena da nganzu ta pena dendu가 세리바겠다 심주 간듯이 제바이나야 심주 가듯이 제바이나야 작단 끼비 줄이야 로샤주를 차게도 왔어라 웅기 야거기 지금 나는다긴 케비 옹부 속에 좀 된디 다 어티비기 아니 케비 옹부 속에 심주 가듯이 제바 뒤쪽이 작단 걸로도 용땅 두고 그랬어 다 densangi 생리비기 심죽 쇼 제거 두고 왔다 심죽 가지고 지는 뒤쪽이 착단 쇼체를 땅에 유소르지 나 들리러 통고도 쓰라
So the most effective way to counter dissatisfaction is to try to apply antidote for the overall afflictive emotions. um, Particularly at this day and age, whatever we do, the very same action, the very same kind of things that we do seems to be cultivating for further dissatisfaction. For instance, even the modern scientists, they are carrying out many researches on different fields, but the outcome of many of this research is to further our dissatisfaction and proliferate dissatisfaction. But on the other hand, if you look at the studies and researches conducted by ancient Indian scholars, starting from Buddha, you see that whatever they try to find, whatever they try to, inquire, the output of their inquiry is really to reduce dissatisfaction.
디 케바 간로도 슬라운디 대지단다 얘기 더 남비기 아니 케비 옹부 속에 송샤교게 아니 송니 제와당 만제와 니치나 만제와 땐데 망 유지레스 갸차갸다 유지레스로 이메는 나랑 제비 나로라 벤나다 직변주 주된 기타 아니 기비 왕부터 송다 직 쇼직베 십사고 상담다 제투여 말디냐 간 제네 상로다니 아니 디톨라야 시 가서 다지 아니 제바체 비기 아니 개깅 있잖니 아니 디시슈 아니 소수 족보냠도 드네 돌린지 도 지원디 콘남비기 제비 나로라야 아니 가주스 제바체나야 율 비기 요축 돌에 제바체마도 율 요축 율 내당 돌에 제바체마도 수진 드텐라 소비직 아니 니슈 돌에야 제바체마도 율 요축 돌에야 가주 제바체와 뒤쪽이 착당 기사기 율코랑 랑적도 왔어라 착당 용 땅투고 nga dindi tongo dos ta pigi ki dutin ki nishu ku tola ya dutin ni tola nipa kari yome sum tola nipa chunchun jila nipa kari yome nishu kurang tola cheba jiong di ani chakdan kiwi gyul rosha ya chi di nza nga zu chizo nanglo la ya di ki ani shugyen di chir ro pigi ki chakdan pa ngoya ki ani chik rigbi zhonglu la ya lobzhong chingin di nyong ri chawan di ani chizo di chakdan nimu shuk chir dhaya dongom shuk chir dhaya jima do ta kala kawa shu re dosa tabshi me gyun roji re dosa
So If you look at the studies or the inquiries conducted by ancient Indian scholars, their primary focus is to see how things truly exist, how things really exist. So they are more interested to know about the reality of the things. But on the other hand, many modern kind of research is based on knowing and decoding the potential of certain things. So the more we decode and know about the potential of certain objects, including the small particles, we often use these to further our dissatisfaction or increase our attachment and so on and so forth. So now in this modern time, the society as a whole is more oriented towards material goals instead of focusing on paying attention on traditions that ultimately help us to reduce such distorted thoughts. Therefore, there is a tendency for us to be carried by the mainstream interest.
Tenida dengom cheondi penanganzugi nyobje ta pena khala nyowa ina ya susu khala dusum dangi shiwa khala jigi yona da jitan digwar da khala saya di zubu choya gi chedure zubu choya di ko pigin dangi shiwa ji yoba ina tela ya tebe goyas ki yo marasara dinganzu cheto yo marda pena khala jimba ina ya ani saya manta ya ani zondi saya le shue ni shue manta gyuroji 아니 베나 둘로 임바이나 지 소수 수보라야 수보디 따지 아니 참을까려야 아니 참을겨 통해 사회까려야 사교 통해 다 딘디기 둘로 지어바니 단 지기어라서라 응외에서 상담는 지거 이내 가서 디 마힘 밥ペ디 아니 아 셀기 유장장시 배주 제자거라서라 디 간스는 디야 미게 수수수겠지 삼로 마당위겠지 견소라지 양이 디 촐라탄 거에 문도아 삼성기 삼로 지어봐나 아니 베나 야워무치기 심샬라야 아니 콘 셈트거드디게 아니 축갑 관키는 누구예스 라 축갑 관디기 비기 소트 두고 알아다 디모도 고마라 만주 소트 온디 축갑 신가집에 촐라탄 거라다 아니 수부트 온디 추바티 간 케치니 디구즈 투고 디 투투고 열하다 이는 한주 투 온디기 추리다 니스um 주베 아니 배주 제자거라 다 딘디기 지 간주 그 상로 마당 위기 다지에 남의 셔위기 다 견다 하장기 전부 인사레스
So not only that, in our daily habit, there are many shortcomings due to not consciously recognizing the impact of our actions. For instance, when we make food, the primary objective or the purpose of food is to nurture our body, but we often tend to eat more than what we need, more than what our body really requires. And not only during the preparation, we tend to buy more than what we really need. And then we tend to waste more food than what we eat. So such kind of habit really has a negative impact. And similarly, so far as the clothing is concerned, the main purpose of cloth is to protect our body from heat and cold. But now that purpose is no longer there. We often tend to buy more than what our body really requires. Now the purpose of cloth is not just for the body, but something else. Then in this regard, it's really crucial to be conscious about our behavior and the consumption of the resources. For instance, His Holiness the Dalai Lama often talks about the importance of being minimalistic in the usage of the resources. For instance, when he goes to brush his teeth, he often makes sure that he often goes with a glass of water, and he tried to not use more than one glass of water to brush his teeth. And when it comes to washing the body, only make sure that one bucket of water is sufficient to clean that. So if we try to be minimalistic and be contented, that is sufficient to either clean our mouth or wash our body. But we being so unconscious and being, recklessly use excessive amount of water, use what is really required. So there's a huge problem of not being conscious about our behavior and actions.
Yep. Thank you, Monte Shaura.
That's
Hoshana, thank you so much.
Final Amrim prayer. From my two types of merits past the space that I have amassed from working with effort at this practice for a grand length of time, may I become the chief leading Buddha for all those whose minds' wisdom eye is blinded by ignorance. Even if I do not reach this state, may I be held in your loving compassion for all life's Manjushri. May I find the best of complete graded paths of the teachings, and may I please all the Buddhas by my practice. Using skillful means drawn by the strong force of compassion, may I clear the darkness from the minds of all beings, with the points of the path as I have discerned them. May I uphold the Buddha's teachings for a very long time. With my heart going out with great compassion, in whatever direction the most precious teachings have not yet spread, or once spread have declined, may I reveal this treasure of happiness and aid. May the minds of those who wish for liberation be granted boundless peace, and the Buddha's deeds be nourished for a long time, by even this graded path to enlightenment completed, due to the wondrous virtuous conduct of the Buddhas and their sons. May all human and non-human beings who eliminate adversity and create conducive conditions for practicing the excellent path never be parted in any of their lives from the purest path praised by the Buddhas. Whenever someone makes effort to act in accordance with the tenfold Mahayana virtuous practices, may he always be assisted by the mighty ones, and may oceans of prosperity spread everywhere. And pray for the long life of His Holiness the Dalai Lama. Incomparably kind and supreme Tenzin Gyatso, the wish-granting, wish-fulfilling jewel, source of every single benefit and happiness in this world, may you have a long life and all your holy wishes be spontaneously fulfilled. And pray for the swift return of Lama Zopa Rinpoche. Peerless teacher and assembly of the children of the victorious ones, Shravakas and Pratyeka Buddhas, victorious Losang father and sons, along with the lineage masters, all the objects of refuge of infinite lands, please bestow the virtue and goodness of accomplishing this prayer here and now, holding and spreading the Muni's precious and complete teachings. Through explanation and practice, you wore the armor of patience that is never discouraged. Incomparable Venerable Guru, to you I make request. While striving single-pointedly for the sake of the victorious one's teachings, the sole gateway through which all benefit and happiness emerge. And for Mother living beings, you suddenly departed to peace. What a great loss! Nevertheless, through the undeceiving truth of the blessings of the ocean of the three jewels, and the great waves of bodhicitta, of the children of the victorious ones, may the smile of a reincarnation swiftly beam in a glory for fortunate disciples. Thank you very much. And we also have a meditation in the Gompa at 1:15 for those who would like to join with Verbalasam, but only in person. Thank you.